Imagine a world without cities, roads, electricity, or written language. There were no houses, no farms, no schools, and no governments. The world was vast, wild, and often unpredictable. Around 100,000 years ago, our ancestors lived entirely from what nature provided. Every sunrise marked the beginning of another day, focused on one simple goal: survival. At this time, modern humans, known as Homo sapiens, had already appeared in Africa. They looked remarkably similar to us, with the same basic anatomy and the same remarkable brain, capable of learning, problem solving, and adapting. Although they lived in a world that was very different from ours, they were not primitive in the way people often imagine. They observed their surroundings carefully, cared for one another, created tools, and passed valuable knowledge from one generation to the next. The natural world shaped every aspect of their lives. Dense forests, open grasslands, mountains, rivers, and coastlines each offered opportunities and dangers. Climate conditions changed over thousands of years, and people had to adapt as environments shifted. Some regions were warm and fertile, while others were cold and dry. The ability to move, learn, and adjust to new conditions became one of humanity's greatest strengths. Most people lived in small groups made up of families and close relatives. These groups were usually small enough for everyone to know one another personally. Working together greatly increased their chances of survival. Adults shared responsibilities, while children learned by watching, listening, and practicing alongside experienced members of the group. There were no classrooms or written books. Nature itself was their teacher, and every day offered new lessons. Finding food required skill, patience, and teamwork. Early humans lived as hunter-gatherers, collecting edible plants, fruits, berries, nuts, roots, seeds, and honey whenever they were available. Rivers, lakes, and coastal areas provided fish and shellfish in many regions. Hunting larger animals demanded careful planning, cooperation, and courage. Success was never guaranteed, and some hunts may have ended with little or no food at all. Every meal depended on knowledge of the land and an understanding of animal behavior. Water was just as important as food. Rivers and freshwater sources became natural gathering places because they supplied drinking water, attracted animals, and supported a rich variety of plants. By observing the changing seasons, people learned where water could be found during dry periods and how landscapes changed throughout the year. This knowledge was passed from one generation to the next. Shelter was simple but effective. In some places, natural caves protected people from rain, wind, and dangerous animals. In many other regions, people likely built temporary shelters using branches, wood, grasses, and animal hides. These shelters reflected the local environment and could be repaired or rebuilt as groups moved across the landscape in search of resources. Flexibility allowed people to adapt to changing conditions rather than remain in one place. Fire had already become an essential part of daily life long before 100,000 years ago. It provided warmth during cold nights, offered protection from predators, produced light after sunset, and allowed food to be cooked. Cooking made many foods easier to digest and safer to eat. Around the fire, families gathered to rest, communicate, and strengthen social bonds. It may also have become a place where experiences, practical skills, and stories were shared across generations. Tools played a vital role in everyday survival. Early humans crafted sharp stone blades for cutting, scraping, and preparing food. Wooden spears helped with hunting, while simple digging tools made it easier to collect edible roots and tubers. These tools were not random objects, but carefully designed solutions to everyday challenges. Over thousands of years, people improved their techniques by observing what worked best and teaching those methods to others. Observation was one of humanity's greatest advantages. People carefully watched animal movements, changing weather, flowering plants, and the behavior of birds. They learned which berries were safe to eat and which could be harmful. They recognized animal tracks and understood where prey might travel. They noticed the changing position of the sun and the appearance of stars at different times of the year. These observations help them anticipate seasonal changes and make better decisions about when and where to travel. Communication was another powerful tool. Although no written language existed, early humans almost certainly used spoken language to share information, coordinate hunts, warn of danger, and strengthen relationships. Facial expressions, gestures, and shared experiences also played important roles in communication. Working together allowed groups to solve problems that no single individual could manage alone. Life was filled with uncertainty. Predators such as large cats, hyenas, and crocodiles posed constant threats in many regions. Injuries could become life-threatening without modern medicine. Droughts, floods, severe storms, and periods of food scarcity challenged every community. Yet archaeological evidence suggests that people often cared for injured or elderly members of their groups, showing that cooperation and compassion were already important parts of human society. As generations passed, knowledge accumulated. Every successful hunt, every safe plant discovered, every dangerous mistake avoided, and every new tool improved humanity's understanding of the world. Parents taught children. Elders shared experience. Young people observed, practiced, and eventually became teachers themselves. This continuous exchange of knowledge became one of the greatest advantages our species ever developed. Looking back across 100,000 years, it is easy to focus on how different their world was from ours. But beneath those differences lies something remarkably familiar. They protected their families, solved problems, adapted to change, and searched for better ways to survive. Their curiosity, cooperation, and resilience laid the foundations for everything that would come later. From agriculture and permanent settlements to science, exploration, and the civilizations that shaped our modern world.